I'm here to tell you that love is not enough. It's not enough to make up for the hurtful behaviors that you've had towards your partner. It's not enough to repair the damage that's been done from your negative reactions. It's not enough when you apologize only to turn around later and continue to do the same thing. The soil where love grows gets poisoned by reactivity. And the harsh truth is that you have to transform yourself to become a place where love can grow again, so you don't end up separated, divorced, lonely, and disconnected. Before we jump in, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications for when I post a new video every week. Also share this video, sit down with your partner, watch it together. Come up with a plan based on some of the things that we're talking about today, because your relationship deserves it. Transforming yourself to become a place where love can grow is not easy. It's tricky because it requires self-reflection. And so many times when I'm seeing people who are in a difficult spot in their relationship, they tend to focus on their partner, not on themselves. Failing to see how you contribute to the problem is the problem. And taking responsibility is the beginning of how you transform that. So if you see yourself in a pattern where you are getting defensive, you're shutting down, your partner brings up behaviors that you've engaged in that have hurt their feelings, and you defend yourself, you rationalize, you excuse it, you invalidate. When you're defending those things, you're blind to your own contributions. And that leaves your partner with no place to go. If you're engaging in behavior that's actively hurting them, they're bringing it up to you, but you somehow turn it around on them, basically give the message that their pain is not your fault or it's not your responsibility. Where do they go with this pain? They start to shove it down. They become resentful, and the relationship starts to fall apart. It's time to wake up and meet your pattern. Likely you were not taught how to experience your feelings. You only learned how to bottle them up or to shut them down or to react to them. Specifically with men, most immature men tend to float on the surface of life. Do you ever notice how when you get together with your buddies, you tend to talk about safe topics like sports, work, travel, various projects that you're doing, or the latest gizmo or gadget that you found? And when something real comes up, something emotional, we have a tendency to get very uncomfortable. Things get awkward very quickly. And you hear the typical things like, hey, buddy, it'll be okay, man. Hang in there. Don't worry about it. Try to put it out of your mind. Hope it gets better for you. This is invalidation and an example of how men just are not taught to talk about the struggles that they have with their own self-worth, with the problems inside of their relationship, with their fears of being a father. Essentially, we were taught to do two things when it comes to really uncomfortable emotions. We were taught to shut them down, or we were trained to try to control them. And that is fixing them with dominance, to kind of like bully our own emotions, like kicking our own ass, so to speak. But that does not work with other people. And by the way, these are not personality flaws. This is not some kind of, you're not broken in some way. This is literally trained into you growing up in your childhood and your teens. They're protective strategies rooted in emotional illiteracy. Most men just were never taught how to feel without collapsing into themselves or exploding. Most of us didn't have a father figure or a role model who was emotionally intelligent, comforting, who were able to talk about really tough emotional subjects, who encouraged us and sat us down and kind of talked to us about life, the pains and the struggles and the things that we go through. In fact, most men actually were given the opposite. They were given the examples of men who would call us names if we were hurt, or that we were told over and over to be a man if we were acting in even normal ways as a child. Like when our feelings were hurt, or when we, skinned our knees, or we struck out and we were really upset about it. The implied message that came from all of those examples were, don't cry. Men don't show emotion. It's pathetic. Men are not allowed to feel the ways that we feel. In fact, you need to shove those feelings down and bury them, because they are only going to make you a weaker person. And on top of that, if you had a father figure like that, your friends weren't any better. If you were upset about something, they would call you a wimp or a wuss, or they would, give you the same messages about expressing your feelings. The fact that this happened over and over again explains why so many men just don't seek any help when they really need it. And it also explains that men are 3.8 times more likely to die by suicide, because we just don't know how to handle how we feel. And we need to change that. So now, as adults, and particularly with our partners and our kids, we're put in this position to show up for our partners, to show up in healthy ways for our children, but we're completely disarmed. We don't know how to do it because we've not built the skills yet. This is why so many women feel like they are raising their partners, because the men that are in their life are emotionally immature and stunted. So again, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to change it. Your stubbornness is what's creating the disconnect. Let me explain. Your reactivity is not just about you. It's shaping the environment, the world that your partner and your children live in. Emotional reactivity, whether silence or aggression, creates fear, not connection. And love does not thrive in fear. Most men want to have a close relationship with their partner. We want to be intimate. We want to feel that kind of closeness. But the stubbornness that we have when it comes to looking at ourselves, taking responsibility, and the tools that we are lacking when it comes to love drive a wedge between what we want and what we actually get. Intimacy is an expression of feeling connected, safe, secure, and in love. If your partner feels unsafe, unseen, unloved, they're going to pull away from that intimacy and that closeness because they're emotionally trying to protect themselves from your judgment, from your criticism or your demands. This is normal. Human beings do not like to be in close proximity or close with people who make them feel bad about themselves, afraid, or disrespected. And they certainly don't want to have sex with them. There's not much that erodes attraction faster than having to teach somebody to just be kind, to teach them how to be self-aware and just to become an emotionally mature person. Furthermore, demanding sex, guilting your partner into sex, or implying that somehow they're obligated to have sex with you is going to build resentment and contempt. And Gottman said that contempt is like the sulfuric acid for love. Research states that men who tend to suppress and dominate their emotions report lower marital satisfaction, more conflict, and kids with higher behavioral issues and lower empathy. The turning point. It's not about being emotional to the point that your emotions control you. In fact, that's the old pattern. Making yourself a healthy man means that you're in charge of your emotions, not suppressing them, because you know that by suppressing them, your emotions tend to ruin what matters most to you. Emotional intelligence is not softness. It's strength in self-regulation and connection and discipline. It's the ability to witness your emotions, to be curious about them, to see how these are connected to your thoughts, your belief systems, the stories that you tell yourself, and learning how to critically think through all of this without reacting. It's about knowing what your core values are and about how to stay in line with those core values by developing the skills necessary so that your values and your behaviors line up with one another, not contradict one another. Here's some interesting facts on studies that have been done on emotionally intelligent men. Number one, they make more money. Approximately about $29,000 more per year in extra income. Number two, they report higher satisfaction in their relationships and parenting. Number three, they resolve conflict about 50% faster. And we all know how much it sucks to conflict. It's hard. And if we can learn how to be able to do these skills and we can reduce that by half, imagine how much happier you'd be. Number four, they experience better physical and mental health. Number five, they have closer and more intimate relationships with their partner. And number six, they have better relationships with their kids. Their kids actually respect them. They seek them out. They tell them things. They want their guidance. They want to talk to them about their problems, and they appreciate the feedback. So is there a downside? So let's look at what emotional intelligence looks like in real life. When you become safe in conflict, you become trustworthy in love. You take responsibility for thinking, emotions, and behaviors, and you stop blaming other people or anyone for how you feel and what you do. You learn to stay present when triggered. Being secure doesn't mean you don't get upset about things. You don't get triggered. It means that you are aware of the trigger, but you're not using that trigger as a reason to explode or to shut down. You take responsibility for the trigger, and you don't expect your partner to walk on eggshells around your triggers. You understand emotional abuse, and you've built safeguards in place inside of yourself to be sure that you would never harm the people that you love. That's why I say you have to make yourself a safe person first. You respect reciprocity in the relationship, and you know that how you behave towards your partner will affect her and vice versa. So you make sure that you choose your behaviors wisely. You recognize your dysfunctional patterns, and you create boundaries within yourself so that you safeguard your relationship from the darkest parts of yourself, the most destructive parts of yourself, because we're all capable of it. It's just making sure that you understand what activates those things, and that, you go from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. You want to make sure that Mr. Hyde is nowhere to be found and that you have very clear boundaries around that. You learn to validate. Validation is massive when it comes to emotional intelligence. It understands that two things can be true at the same time. I can disagree with your position, but I can also empathize and understand how you feel about it. And both of those things can be true. You can repair with accountability, not shame. You're careful with your words, and you say what you mean as clearly as possible, never using your words to create harm. You recognize that not everyone is like you. That means that they're going to have different needs. They're going to have different wants, different opinions, feelings. And it's your job to learn how to roll with all of that, not to kind of insist that everybody has to be like me in order for me to be okay. You keep an open mind and you collaborate those boundaries with your family members, with your partner, to find the solutions that work for everyone. You take responsibility for your own growth and healing. It is not your partner's job to fix you. If there is something going on inside of you that is negatively affecting your partner, own it. Like, look things up, watch videos, read books. You have the internet at your fingertips. You have so many different opportunities to learn how to become a better person so that you don't keep doing the damage to your partner. You show stability and consistency in your behaviors toward others. You demonstrate in words and in actions what they mean to you. You look to be empathetic with other people's suffering and pain, not defensive to it. You actively practice empathy skills. And finally, you're mindful and you're thoughtful and patient and flexible and curious and insightful and grateful for love and to be loved. You're always trying to keep this in mind as a way to know that I can spoil and ruin this environment if I'm not careful with my own emotions, with my own upsets. And so I'm going to safeguard this. I have to make sure that I keep myself and the people that I love safe inside of this place through my own emotional regulation. The transformation. You don't have to be the man that your father modeled for you. You can become the man that your children will thank you for becoming. This, like everything else, is just skill building. But you have to know what skills to work on and maybe have a program like mine that can guide you through how to build those skills. You just have to put in the effort. Imagine your partner leaning in instead of pulling away because she feels completely safe with you and wants to be close. Imagine your kids not being afraid of you because they mess up. They're not afraid that you're going to lecture them, punish them, put them down. They actually can go to you and talk with you about their failures. They can express their feelings and you guide them. You're there for them. You connect to them. You tell them stories about when you've messed up in the past and how, your dad handled it or your mom handled it and how you wanted them to handle it in a different way. You remind them that you're not perfect as a parent, but you're there for them and you'll do everything you can to help them. That is what safety feels like in a kid, is that they know you're there for them. You have their best interests in mind. You're guiding them. Imagine conflict coming up between you and your partner and you work your way through that conflict with ease. Conflict is necessary. It gets a bad rap. Like, we're not trying to not fight in a relationship. Holding each other accountable, going toe to toe with your partner is necessary for a healthy relationship. We have to be able to call each other out on things. And when you are learning how the skills about how to take responsibility for yourself, it becomes so much easier because you're not defending yourself anymore. You're actually literally standing with your partner and looking at your own behavior, and you're working through it with your partner to try to empathetically understand how that made them feel so you can learn how to love them in new ways. You recognize that no one wants to be controlled. We hate feeling controlled. You learn how to stop controlling people and you learn the power of your influence. Imagine feeling respected, grounded, and proud of yourself, not ashamed and guilty for another flare-up. This transformation I'm talking about is possible. I watch the members of my program transform each week, little by little. They're becoming the people that they want to become. They're putting in the time, the effort, and the energy, and they're learning the skills necessary to become safe and secure within themselves so that they can be safe and secure for their partners and their children. I invite you to check out my program, Breaking Reactive Patterns, the blueprint for building a safe and healthy relationship. If you're ready to break these patterns, build these skills that I'm talking about, and you're ready to become an emotionally grounded person that your family needs, your partner needs, then schedule a discovery call. The links are below this video. And a quick reminder to please share this video with your partner. If you're listening to this and watching me and you hear this is your partner who's doing these kinds of things, please share this video with him. This is what I'm talking about going toe to toe with your partner, holding each other accountable. Change cannot happen in silence. And as always, thanks again for watching.